All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. Alan Jackson, who is one of several people who revitalized and really made country music something spectacular in the 1990s. I would say Alan Jackson and George Strait, those two guys, and Garth Brooks to some degree. But Garth, as popular as he was and is, there's something about Garth that doesn't put him in the same category as an Alan Jackson or a George Strait. I got the impression that Garth was never really just content being this mega country star, that he wanted to be a pop star. He was hanging out with Billy Joel, and he was trying to kind of say, look, I'm over here too, I can do this. I did own a couple of Garth Brooks albums, and they're really good. Back in the 90s, I mean, you waited for the Garth Brooks albums to come out. But Alan Jackson and George Strait are like two guys who belong pretty much on a different plane than the rest of country musicians. And they should still be playing their music today. If they come out with an album, I don't care how old they are, as long as they sound decent, they can still sing. In country music, I'm not saying it's hard or easy to sing, but it tends to be easier than arena rock and roll. So anyway, Alan Jackson here talking about Chris Stapleton, who I have mentioned on this broadcast a couple of times, who I think is a great vocalist, but he says he loves him, but what he's making now really isn't real country. And I tend to agree with that. Alan Jackson isn't one to pull punches or to not say what's on his mind when someone asks. In a recent feature in GQ, he went out of his way to talk about Chris Stapleton. It was a very powerful interview, and they do ask Alan Jackson a question which gets him on his soapbox. They said, what do you feel about today's modern country music? And this is a topic I explore with bands when I have them on the show, whether I say, hey, what do you think of today's music? And doesn't matter what genre it is. It seems always it goes back to this question of authenticity. He says, you probably don't want me to get on my soapbox about it. There's some good music out there, but there's not really much at all that's real country music anymore on the mainstream country charts. What is nominated for awards, and it's been going that way for years now, and I don't know if it'll ever come back. See, this is a thing that we're seeing everywhere in every genre, every format. He talks about Chris Stapleton. He says, I love Chris. He's authentic, a real writer, musician. He opened for me for a while before he hit so big. I'm a big fan of his. He was a bluegrass singer, and he has written bluegrass stuff. But what he's making now really isn't real country. It's more like bluesy, southern rock kind of stuff. I love it. It's great, but he's the closest thing to country out there. So what Jackson is saying here is, even though Stapleton isn't the pure country thoroughbred, somebody like himself or George Strait, he's better than, say, the bro country or the stuff that's even less linked to country music. Alan Jackson's sentiments echo much of what traditional country fans feel, even though to many in music and entertainment media, including country music media specifically, they see Stapleton as someone traditionalists love to champion. There's a great disconnect to how the media portrays Stapleton as a country music savior and how his music is received by those that believe country music needs saving. Look, for those of you searching for real country music, I would check into what's happening in West Texas. And I had this group on, a duo, who are just incredible. And the name of the duo is Tex Westus, and it's it's hard to say because you want to say West Texas, but it's Tex Westus. And I discovered them by sort of climbing, skimming through all of these country music charts in Texas. There's Texas radio charts, which you'll find things like Cody Jinks, which is very almost punk, country punk kind of stuff. And there was a fair amount of that floating around in the 1980s, by the way, so it's not necessarily a new format. Kind of rebellious, has a rock and roll attitude to it. And then there are other things on there that sound to me like they walked out of the 1980s or 1990s country scene, and really impressive stuff that you won't hear on mainstream stations. Country stations obviously have this war going on right now between things that kind of sound traditional and things that just sound, I don't know. They sound really out there. They don't even resemble, I mean, they might be more soul or R&B oriented. The type of musical instruments and so forth are just so far removed from sort of the twang and the honky-tonk sounds of the 90s. And you may not even like country, I get that. But see, I tend to like the classic things, the classic formats that I really sort of got into. And in the 90s, these two guys, Jackson and Strait, they were the two kings. They were the two troubadours. And as time has gone on, you really understand the damage they did in a good way with all of those singles and all of those #1 songs. And just, you won't see this again unless the industry, again, does a pivot or comes back or cycles back. And this whole kind of combining all these formats together to sound like one hideous sound, and that's kind of what's going on now. It's not good for people who want real music. Real music is out there. You got to look for it, and a lot of folks have given up looking for it. They don't have time to look for it. There's stuff they got to do. This current situation we're all in, we got bigger fish to fry. But in any event, I love this article. It was published way back in 2018, 2 years ago plus. And it's a guy who, again, needs no introduction and deserves to be listened to because he knows what he's talking about. So in any event, Alan Jackson, a true country original, and talking about the state of country music today. Very interesting indeed. All right, I'm done with this video. Thank you for watching. Thanks to all the new patrons who've signed up. Thanks to folks who are watching the channel and subscribing. I had a pretty good month of July as we near the end of it. If you'd like to subscribe to Patreon before next month, that's very helpful to me. You can donate $1 a month very easily. Just click on the Patreon logo on the banner of my YouTube channel, and that will set you up with Patreon. You can do $1 a month or whatever you choose to do. Either way, it's much appreciated if you decide not to and just subscribe. I like having lots of subscribers, so keep them coming, and we'll try to keep the content coming as well. All right, I'm done with this. See you soon. Thanks for watching.